This episode is sponsored by Free Market Kids.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Orange Chatter. Today, you're listening to part 4 of my conversation with Sarah.
We're not like people that are like the next best thing we need to have. Because I do think a lot of people are like, why not just stay with money? It's working okay. Why not just stay with money? I don't feel the need. Like, or when I say money, why not stay with dollars? Like credit cards, why not, whatever. And I'm like, well, there is something better. There truly is something better. And like we know how to appreciate tools like for their purpose and even antiquated tools like like a phonograph, like an Edison phonograph, Victrolas, like we have Victrolas, but there's also things that just work better with new technology. And I think that's something that's really exciting to think about is like, this is, or maybe even just like a new vocabulary to put Bitcoin in is like, this is just a new technology. It's just a new way to think of and use currency that is more secure, holds its value, and is really going to be even more scalable. Like we have credit cards that we can buy things online, but the fees are crazy, right? There are companies that don't even take credit cards because it costs them too much, or they charge you more if you're going to use your credit card nowadays. And you can't like drive everywhere you need to drive and give them cash. But Bitcoin, with the new technologies of the Lightning Network, you can send money anywhere in the world instantly with minimal fees. Like that is, credit cards have a problem, an increasing problem that Bitcoin fixes. Cash, you can't buy everything you need necessarily with cash because you're just not physically there, like to take the cash somewhere. Bitcoin fixes that too. So it's just like, this is a new technology that fixes a problem, practical problems, value problems, and then there's also like the trust problems of like inflation and all these things that happen with our current like monetary system. So we're not like afraid to move forward into technology if it solves a problem. And I think that that's something, as people grow to understand and have a felt need like we did, I think that I'm just hoping that, the terminology, like the vocabulary, and like you said, the perception that like you have to know all the technology to use it. Like, I don't know how credit card payments are done. I know it goes over the internet, but I still use my credit card.
Yeah, so to follow up on our discussion about how to use it today, also I wanted to share that, I've been talking to my family about Bitcoin and they are not necessarily convinced enough to enter the space, but occasionally I would get a picture from them texting a sign that they would see at a window of a restaurant where they live that says Bitcoin accepted here.
Where do they, like, where are they?
They live in Virginia.
So more like near DC, like more like big city.
Yeah, near
Okay.
DC. Yeah.
See, and I think it's going to spread.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know that New York has some places that accept Bitcoin. New York has some, New York City, like these big cities, it's these financial centers that get the newest things. They get the Broadway shows first, and then the touring act comes around here. But I am hopeful and excited that as more like day by day, as the demand increases, like I think everywhere Jason goes, do you accept Bitcoin? Do you accept Bitcoin? Like, and he thinks of, he goes to, in Ohio, I don't know if Kentucky has these, but I know a lot of times in the South, they don't have these, where you can drive through like a shed and you can get beverages, you can get alcohol, you can get snacks. They're like drive-throughs, not like a drive-through at McDonald's, but like a beverage drive-through. He goes there to our local like neighborhood one pretty much every day, and he has talked to the guy about like, why you should accept Bitcoin. You should accept Bitcoin. Because here's my husband paying like $3 for a Monster Energy drink using a credit card. That guy is paying 5% of an already small margin. I was like, if you just accepted Bitcoin, I would drive through. I would scan the QR code. I'd send you my Bitcoin. You wouldn't pay a fee on it. Like and he's like, you're the perfect candidate to save 5%, as more and more people are using credit cards with these crazy high fees on your transactions. And he is the proprietor is like, no way, I just can't trust that. I just can't, and I get it. Like it's I feel like it's a similar verbiage that people used to use with like cell phones or like the internet. Like, no way, no way. Like, I'm not going to connect to the internet, like to the internet, they'll spy on me or whatever. It's like there's like a distrust or there's a lack of understanding. But as more and more people who other people perceive as like normal and similar to them, like your vision for communicating that this is a technology for everyone. And yes, there are options for deep dives, just like there's options for deep diving into cooking. Like I'm an okay cook, but I don't own a sous vide. I don't really need one. I don't, I have a KitchenAid. I know my best friend swears by her KitchenAid and uses it all the time. I don't need it. Like that's not part of the kitchen arsenal that I really need for my purposes. And if I just want people like the gentleman at the drive-through and like my mom to understand that you don't need to run your own node. You don't need to mine. You don't need to do all that. Like it's really interesting. It's cool, but for your purposes, if you're just a transactional, like you just need you need money to spend, to get paid in, to spend, and to store as a store of value, you can stop right there. Like that it does all that. It does all that and it does it better. I don't know, it's exciting. It's exciting, but it will take a lot of, I mean, what is it? The three topics that married people have the most conflict over are sex, time, and money. Money is so close because it's how we provide for ourselves. It's how we live. It's how we transact with the world. And there should be some healthy security and healthy education that goes into where you're going to put your resource. So, but I would just really encourage people to not move forward with blinders on and just like, because this is the way it's always been. And anything I can do to help create a accessible on-ramp educationally for people so that they feel confident about it. Like, I don't want anyone to like not feel confident when they make a decision about their money, because it's very, very important. Same thing with like time. I don't want people to waste their time. So I want them to think through that so that they don't regret decisions they make. So yeah, but it is about, I think, making clear that there is an on-ramp. It's not a cliff you jump off of. It can be a growing educational on-ramp.
Yeah, let's jump right into what we talked about before. You're wanting to start a group to onboard new Bitcoiners.
Yeah. So like I said, we live in Cincinnati. And at this point, I do not believe that we have yet to find a merchant that accepts Bitcoin here in Cincinnati. And I mean, just last week, I was talking to my neighbor about Bitcoin came up in the context of a cartoon, the Tuttle Twins cartoon that my girls had watched. And she was like, what is Bitcoin? And I was just like, I was like, what do you mean? What is Bitcoin? And she's like, I mean, I've heard it, but I've heard the term, but I don't really know. Is that one of those like cryptocurrencies? And I was like, well, kind of. It's like a foundational technology that, and I just realized I had to dial back. I was like, let's talk about money. So I keep having these conversations with people who maybe have heard of Bitcoin or they haven't. They're like, what is that? And I want to start a group. I want to give people an opportunity to come together kind of for a Bitcoin basics educational opportunity, meet other people who are at different levels of interest in education and learn the absolute basics of Bitcoin. From why did somebody perceive the need for Bitcoin? Like, what's the problem that this fixes? How does this fix it in super general terms, like the difference between like hard money that is hard to make versus soft money that can get printed and then has this huge risk of inflation, like very simple terms, macroeconomic terms. And then kind of how does this apply to you? Is your level of perceived need a store of value? Do you see your savings account not increasing because of inflation and adjusted measurements? Or are you a merchant who's paying ridiculous credit card fees and you're like, wait a minute, if I can create a core of customers who are willing to pay in Bitcoin. I won't be paying credit card fees for them anymore. Like that kind of, where does this fit in my life? And then, yeah, like there are people in our community here who are deep divers, who went down the rabbit holes of the hardware and the security of the network and like all that stuff, and like connecting people who are interested in with those folks. Like there are people who are particularly concerned about privacy, and there are tools and resources and educational materials available for that. There are people who are interested in how Bitcoin applies to like investing and financial services and stuff. And like there are people that are interested in that and can give more information. But I want to just create a space where the basic information can be answered and applied to people where they're at now. So our trajectories, we're hoping we're going to host a meetup. We're going to use the Meetup platform to just kind of put out a general invitation to folks to come and hear Bitcoin basics. What is it and what's it for? That level of engagement, and come buy a beer. We're going to meet at a local brewery, buy a beer and get some questions answered, or just come and hang out and even passively take in information about this new technology. And hopefully that'll turn into a regular thing, a monthly even opportunity. And we would eventually partner with some of the more technologically advanced people to say, oh, and if you're interested in this, there's this happening, and then within the greater community, connect people with resources for their particular interests.
Thanks for joining us today and learning with us today. If the discussion with our guest resonated with you and you would like to dive deeper into the world of Bitcoin, don't miss out on joining the Orange Hatter Women's Reading Club. The meetup link is in the show notes. Also, if there are women in your life whom you think would both enjoy and benefit from learning more about Bitcoin, please share Orange Hatter with them. Until next time, bye!